Two, three. Okay, so you currently work for the Nantucket Historical Society, but at one point you were at Cooperstown, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then you obviously were in Bangor with the Children's Museum. Where was the
Yeah.
first museum you worked at?
Oh gosh. I guess technically the first museum I worked at was the Colby College Museum of Art while I was a
Okay,
student there.
all right.
And
What was that like the only museum that was on campus?
yeah,
Pretty much.
as
What
far
is
as I know.
what is that? What kind of art are they showing?
Primarily American art, and it's grown by leaps and bounds since I was there. Um,
Okay.
when I worked there in the late 80s, 1980s, or 1990 maybe, I forget. But it's grown both in its physical size and in the collection size has become a really remarkable college museum, art museum, the gift of the Lunder family uh, materials and the Alphon family.
Hmm.
They've they've really transformed the museum.
So is it like those families are giving them money or like giving them art from their own collections, or are they giving them money to go out and buy art?
Probably both, certainly from their collections as well, and
Gotcha.
primarily from their collections. But I think they've also been generous financially.
Were you a big art guy going into that, or was that sort of a new thing for you?
I always liked going to art museums growing up,
Yeah.
and particularly American art, and uh, studied a bit of art history in college and then in graduate school as well. But yeah, something about um, art and art museums always really interested me, as well as history museums always interested me. Sort of
So,
what they chose to display.
well, that was my next question is like what goes into that process of A, deciding like what art to acquire? Like if the Alphons come to you and say, "Hey, we want to give this to you," do you have to say yes, or is it sort of like you can say, "I don't know if that really fits our thing right now," or is it sort of like you just take what you get and then you have to figure out the exhibit? Like, how does that process work, start to finish?
It really varies by museum, but I think for a lot of museums anyway, there is sort of a somewhat standard formula or set of procedures where you have a collections department or a curatorial department who are staff who are
Mhm.
charged with identifying, caring for, researching the objects in the collection. And as part of that work, they will identify, what the museum holds, what gaps they have in the collection, what's out there that they might like to acquire that
Mhm.
fits in with their mission and what stories they propose to tell, or what collections they propose to acquire and hold and care for. And then usually you'll have a committee of the board, like a collections committee or an acquisitions committee, who will then review the work that the staff does, their recommendations, and review those, and then present that to the full board, who will ultimately approve any proposed acquisitions.
Is there a
So
big
it
is there a
takes a
big
while.
is there a big difference in like the style of like a college like Colby in their art museum versus, like a bigger art museum that's more like the Louvre, for example, that's like a big public facing art museum? Is it sort of a similar process and approach, or are there sort of like two just totally different fields and
I think there are some things that are unique to each institution, and depending on the size and depending on the whether you're a university museum or a private nonprofit
Mhm.
museum or a city museum or a federal museum, each of those are going to bring sort of their own unique um, challenges and set of protocol. But I'd say at the heart, it's all fairly similar in terms of you're looking for um, paintings or artworks or artifacts that
Mhm.
tell a certain story, that relate to stories you're intending to tell, that you want to preserve, for a long period of time in your collection, um, and that you have a fairly similar approach where staff are tasked with identifying what those objects might be, and then working with collectors and members of the acquisitions committee and the board itself to get that approval, get that buy-in, get the excitement about how do you grow those collections and identify
Mhm.
them, and then bring them into the museum's collection permanently.
So don't like some colleges like Harvard, like they have very old artifacts. Like I believe Harvard has Magna Carta or something like that, or they have a copy of it. Um, how does is that like a part of the museum of Harvard, or is that like a separate thing of like just acquiring stuff to have stuff?
In Harvard's case, they have several different museums,
Okay.
and each of them has its own staff structure and presumably advisory committee structure and
Yeah.
board structure, and presumably they all. And actually, I don't know how this works exactly, but I was going to say presumably they all report upwards to the colleges, the universities,
Hmm.
board of trustees, ultimately. But each one is sort of its own um, independent um, organization
Right.
that that sort of acts within under the aegis of the entire university, of course, but
Right.
on its own has its own director, has its own curatorial staff, has its own collections policy, has its own
Interesting.
galleries, and so forth.
Interesting. So with the artifacts that are just not public facing, do you guys ever bring in stuff where you're like, this is never going to be something public, but for maybe like reasons of preservation or something else, like we're going to hold on to it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. In fact, most museums, the number of items that are actually shown on the floor of the museum in
Mm.
an exhibition in their walls of the gallery at any one time is really small, probably less than 10%
Hmm.
um,
Oh wow, really?
of the total collections. And so we have, for instance, we currently have a collections facility where 90%, maybe 93% of our collections are, because you just don't have that gallery space
Right.
typically. Even major, city art museums, which tend to have a lot of space and large gallery space. Um,
Hmm.
Primarily, they have massive storage facilities, and there's been an effort over the years to create visible storage so that if it's not on view, people can still see it on occasion.
Mm.
Where they really limit the light that's there and the handling of these objects and things like
Right.
that. So, but yes, we do. We will often acquire objects that we know aren't going to go on display, or very rarely will go on display because they possess an important something important about them, whether it's what they offer in terms of research or knowledge that's gained,
Hmm.
or preserving something that would otherwise be lost.
Mm.
That is an important part. Some things are just inherently fragile and can't be put on display.
Yeah.
Um, Things, certain kinds of paper, certain
Right.
textiles, things like that, that can't be exposed to light for very long, or
Right.
handle a lot of human touch, by the art preparators or the handlers. Um,
Do you
so
ever
yeah,
take
that's definitely part of it.
Do you ever take on like so how many of those artifacts that come in that are like that where you're like, yeah, this just can't come out for whatever reason, where do you ever just make like a copy of it to put out and be like, we have it, we did scans, we made it a replica, here's it out. It's not the real thing, but we have the real thing.
Yeah, well, certainly scanning and digitization is a big part of what we do,
Mm.
so that we have the more permanent copy and that we can share it online or via social media or our website, or send email copies of images or things like that, or share it with scholars around the world.
Yeah.
So that's an important part of what we do for sure. It's less common that you'll create a copy of something and have it on view instead
Mm.
of the real thing, but it does happen. That's not to say it doesn't
Mm.
happen. It certainly does. There are examples where that happens, and for the reasons you suggest, whether it's too fragile or just can't stand up for being on view or display for the length of a certain exhibition.
Mm.
Sometimes places will create a copy, note that it's a copy, and have that on view so people can see that, maybe with a photograph of the real thing, something like that. I think generally museums try to display the real thing. That's what makes it special. I mean, for
Mm.
you to actually
See the real
see
thing, yeah.
the real thing, you go to the Smithsonian Museum of American History, and you want to see Dorothy's ruby slippers. And
Right. You want
it's
to see
more
the real
cool
thing.
knowing that those are the slippers that you saw in the movie originally,
Right.
and the ones she wore, and um, rather than some fake pair of Judy Garland slippers. So,
For something like that where it's like I'm assuming that's something that goes to auction. Is that something where you meet with the board and you're like, hey, we'd really love to get these slippers, but it's going to auction. So we're going to have to go in and know that other museums probably are going to be spending on it, and what is our, where's our financial hole for here? What we'd like to pay for it? What are we willing to pay for it? Or is that
Yeah.
something where you're like, hey, don't even let this go to auction. We'll just offer you this up front.
Yeah, all of the above. Auctions are but one way that museums acquire objects,
Hmm.
working directly with collectors or dealers. Um, Sometimes you can get something on loan for a period of time. You always hope to convert that into a gift, or usually hope to convert that into a more permanent gift.
Yeah.
Um, Buying something directly from a dealer, um, or an auction. I mean, if you can't, if it's not as a gift, if it's not a loan, if it's not a purchase directly, then you've got to go to auction. It's assuming that the seller is using an auction house or a gallery to do that. And then it's kind of exactly along the lines of what you said. You have to know there's just so much that goes into an auction. I mean, you have to know who the auction house is,
Hmm.
what the reserve is, who the potential competition is. Um, Make sure it is what they say it is. See it in person ahead of time.
Right.
Really review the condition. Look at the provenance on the piece, and then work with your staff and the acquisitions committee and the board to build up that support. And you try to arrive at, all right, how much are we going to go after this?
Yeah.
What's our maximum dollar level? And there are a lot of strategies as to how you do that too. But it can be really exciting. It can be heartbreaking and great. I mean, as an example, we just acquired a map this past weekend online
Ooh.
at an auction, and we were able to get it, and we got it for a lot less than what we thought we were going to have to do it.
Oh,
So it
sweet.
happens that way
That's
sometimes as
awesome.
well, where you luck out.
That's sick. If so, like, let's say off the coast of Nantucket tomorrow, we wake up and someone has discovered an old shipwreck from the whaling days, like perfectly intact
Yeah,
ship. It's just the find of all finds, right? And obviously, for a discovery like that, I would assume there's a lot of other parties besides museums that have interests in that shipwreck, like just for research purposes, for salvage purposes, all of these different things. At what point does like a museum have domain to step in and say like, hey, this is a priceless artifact of Nantucket history, and we
yeah,
have domain to seize at least something of it or seize some control?
that gets pretty complicated because your example anyway is pretty complicated because for shipwrecks, there's a whole host of issues that come with that and that are designed to protect shipwrecks and in effect pirates and scavengers from coming through and picking clean all these shipwrecks, and so they are protected by state and federal regulations
Oh, okay.
about who is able to access and then you know temporarily gain control of these things. So a shipwreck is a tough one.
A
um,
shipwreck. Okay. Would it
that
would it
that
just
comes with a
probably
whole
just
host
stay
of
there?
issues.
Because that's always
Probably.
interesting. A lot of time they just leave the stuff where they found it, especially when it's underwater,
Right.
where like they could move it. I'd watched this thing on Disney Plus. There was Jeremy Lin does this series where he goes to these different places and
Oh
he
yeah.
finds these little wrecks and then he does like AI and scans and tries to recreate it. And one of the places he went, I forget, I think it was off of the coast of India, or maybe it was no, it
Yeah.
was in the maybe it's in the Mediterranean Sea. I think it was the Mediterranean Sea, but it was a bunch of like pillars and stuff from old ancient Roman pillars and old statues and that sort of thing. And they could very easily go down and pull these out, but they've decided to leave them there. And is that, I would assume that's a decision that's made based off of, you know, do we have more to learn from it when it's still in the water? Like, do we want to, sort of like a crime scene, I imagine? Like,
Right.
we want to leave the crime scene so we can figure out what was going on here. If we remove stuff, it hurts the evidence, but also like you don't want the object to deteriorate more. And is that something where like, if they found the shipwreck, they bring you in of like, hey, or if they just found like an artifact, like, hey, should we leave this here? Should we pull this out? Like, is that something you get called in to decide? And how do you make that decision?
We rarely get called in on something like that. At least in my experience thus far, there hasn't been much. I'll come back to a recent experience we did have that I can talk about a little bit. But in general, one of the things you really have to be careful is the material of the objects you're talking about. Because
Yeah.
once you move them, and if you take them out of the water, depending on the material it's made out of, it can instantly come apart once you expose it to air after being in the water for a long time, or really deteriorate rapidly. So there are a lot of factors you have to consider um, about moving something that's been underwater for a long period of time, and how that'll change once you change the conditions that it's in. Um, there was a shipwreck that had been south shore of Nantucket. This
Okay.
was, I think, 2 years ago now.
Oh, okay.
And I forget the exact year that it wrecked, but I want to say 1886 or
Oh,
somewhere
wow.
around there. And over the years, it had been covered up by sand and just the accretion of sand, waves bringing stuff in over the years. And so it had been completely buried. In fact, a similar story happened on Bar Harbor, um, on Sand Beach relatively recently, too. Same idea. And because of a variety of storms and erosion over the
Mm.
years, suddenly, after a big storm, a part of the ship reappeared, and people walking on the beach saw it and were like, "What is this?" And then more appeared and more appeared, and finally there was this.
Whoa.
The ribs and keel of this old ship were totally exposed, and we did get called in about it to try to come over and ascertain which ship it was and how could we help them understand what was
Yeah.
going on with the wreck. And we were able to do that looking through our records, and we actually had a painting of the ship that they suspected
Oh,
to be actually during the wreck on shore.
oh my gosh.
So that was pretty cool. And but they were really trying to protect it from people taking parts and bits away from it.
Right.
And we didn't want to take any part of it away from the beach, but we wanted to photograph it and document it and learn whatever we could from it,
Yeah.
which we did, and other organizations on the island did too.
What was the ship?
And then in a matter of, I forget how long, a couple of weeks, another storm, and it had been totally covered up again. And
Oh, just like that window happened to open it up.
it's appeared and reappeared depending on conditions and things like that. So, and I think that was true for the one on Sand Beach,
Oh,
um,
wow. What was the
on
ship?
in
Was it a
Acadia.
whaling ship or was it something else?
No, it wasn't a whaling ship. It was in fact, a cargo ship, or a ship that was delivering materials.
Ah,
Yep, and had been wrecked in a storm.
like East India Trading Company, or is that not the right time period?
Not the right time period,
Not the right
but
time period.
yep,
Interesting.
um,
But there's a wooden ship.
yep,
Oh
yep.
my gosh. That's so crazy. It's such a crazy way to get around.
I can't
Oh my
remember
gosh.
the one up in Acadia, but it too was a wooden ship that may have been older.
Something's been going on in our waters up here. I don't know what it is, but I like there's sharks, there's poop in the water, now there's wrecked sail ships. This is not the beautiful blue oceans that I grew up with.
Ah, there was
Uh,
probably poop in the water when you were growing up. I'm just
Well,
telling you.
there probably was, but I was, I always assumed it was apparently I think it's sewage pipelines are dumping into the water, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And that's, a whole other issue. But it's such a so like the ocean is obviously very big and there's sort of this zone within the ocean. I was watching a documentary about this where if the ship sinks too far out, right, then the
yeah,
ocean crushes it and it's not going to be there, right? Especially like a wooden ship where it's just going to erode. There's sort of this like happy zone, sort of like our planet is in that happy life zone where the ships can kind of be preserved to some degree, especially
yeah.
if you find them quick enough and they're not, thousands of years old, which is like why it's hard to find Viking ships and that sort of thing. Like they're probably gone. Whereas like the Titanic, obviously it's going to take a long time for that to deteriorate.
Right.
Or like other ships from the time period. But
Like the Andrea Doria, which sank just south of Nantucket in the 1950s. It's one of the most popular dived on shipwrecks there is, if not the most popular, I think. But
how far down is it?
I think it's 200 feet or
So it's one you
300
can
feet,
scuba
something like
dive
that.
too,
Yeah, people dive on it all the time. It's a really dangerous dive. Many people have died
trying
diving
to do
for
it.
it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to do. Have you heard
Yeah.
about the have you heard about the what are they called? The Korean Sea Women?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
unbelievable and
Incredible. Yeah.
incredible how their diving capabilities just to go down like because my understanding is they go down 300 or 400 feet sometimes
Right.
and get way down there. And my what I've heard is that they've discovered that I guess their appendix that while they're holding their breath underwater, their appendix will release red blood cells into their system to help oxygenate everything. And that once they get up and they start breathing again, it starts to suck the red blood cells back in. I may have that wrong, but that's my understanding of like they figured out part of what the appendix is able to do comes from essentially their ability to hold their breath for a very long time.
They've learned how to regulate that basically, or
Yeah, but
somehow. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not even like our like when we see a breath hold record, they're just floating in a tank. They're not moving.
Right.
These women are out there moving around. They're doing stuff. They're hunting and fishing,
Right.
and they have to be.
Yeah.
It's so Nantucket.
I
So
once thought I might do that.
you should do that. I think you could do that.
Well, I'm pretty
Absolutely.
sure I can't.
Have you ever done scuba diving?
No. A lot of snorkeling.
It's
I've
not
held
that
my
much
breath
different.
underwater a lot, many
What's
times over the
how
years.
long do you think you could hold your breath if need be?
Now,
Yeah, Korean Sea Woman says, "Come with me, Niles. How long are you with her before you tap out?"
I'm telling her no before I even go in the water. But if I had to go in the water, I would say 20 seconds.
20 seconds? That's not too bad. That's not the key is not to panic. That's my understanding. I've seen a lot of those like military videos where they have them swim like the length of the pool and back, and it's I believe the
Right.
point of that is to teach you that you don't actually black out as quickly as you think you're going to.
Which is great until you start blacking out.
Yeah, but then you do just black out.
Right.
That is part of the issue. There's I don't know if it's holotropic breathing or if it's pranayama breathing, but there is a breathing technique where you get very used to having like high levels of CO2 in your body
Yeah.
where you're exhaling a lot and then it's quick inhales, long exhales, and you build up the CO2. And the idea is to build up a CO2 tolerance. So when you are doing these breath holds, you don't like panic as much and it's very helpful with like anxiety and all these things. But the problem is that people who get really good at it, their body doesn't panic as CO2 tolerance builds up. And so they're
Yeah.
just going, lights out. And that's it. And their body never sets off the alarms.
That that is alarming.
It is.
I'm a big fan of breath work. I do some breath work classes and I'm fascinated by it. There's a great book by James Nestor called Breathe.
I love that book.
Isn't that great?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What do
It's
you what do
amazing.
you what do you think about like the um like okay, but first so we'll start with the breath work.
Okay.
Do you do breath work regularly?
Pretty regularly. Yeah,
What
I
is
do.
your go-tos?
I go to a class here actually, and
Okay.
um, it's particularly over the fall, winter, spring. Excuse me. Um, this guy teaches a class here, and uh, I love it. I find it
What kind of breathing is
really
it?
relaxing. So he varies it up. He does some box. I mean, it's all guided. He'll
Yeah.
guide you through it. He does some box breathing. He does some of the exactly the breathing you were describing earlier. Some of the
Mm.
quick breaths. Um, um, gosh, I'm forgetting what some of the other ones are called. Um, but primarily, it's a combination of that quick breathing and box breathing
Mm.
that he leads you through.
Yeah. That stuff is it's so interesting because now obviously we have Western medicine and we have like the scientific method. And it's so interesting to get when it gets applied to Eastern medicine and like these
Mm,
old philosophies, and you find that like a lot of it does do stuff.
right.
Acupuncture does do stuff. You know, they were onto something, and you know, a lot of the like the breath work is crazy what you can do of it. You know, people can get highs off of it if they do it for long, and they can get experiences that are pretty analogous to like doing mushrooms or
Right.
I know like the Wim Hof breathing, like the lots
Yeah,
of the inhale exhales, like I believe that is very good at fending off colds and viruses when you have stuff coming on, because it awakens the immune system and supercharges it to go out and do what you needed to do. And then you go
absolutely.
in, you get into stuff like hyperbaric oxygen, which is just saturating your body with oxygen, essentially all it's doing. And you see all of the benefits that come out of it. And you think of like it is crazy what just simple things like breathing and oxygen can do. And reading James Nestor's book, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was just how many people are breathing wrong all the time.
Yeah, mouth breathing and how that's changed, like the skeleton, the
Crazy.
skull, the jawbone, things like that. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and then there was a part of the book where he talks about like I believe it was Native Americans and European, Scandinavian Russians of how they have like these built-in cultural practices that like I know in Sweden it's very common to put a baby out in like the winter and
Yeah,
have them breathing the winter air. Or I believe what was it they said with Native Americans they would put the kids on their stomachs to like sort of force them to breathe with their diaphragm or something. I may have that wrong, but just like these cultural practices that they had anyway to
he
naturally
talks about
improve the
in that
breathing.
book too about how so many there's a similar time period. I think, and he said it was about 6 seconds where it repeats whether it's in saying certain prayers in various religions or chants or things
Yes.
like that. It's all almost exactly the same length of time,
Mm.
which he related to the time for breathing and that it calms you down, and
Oh yeah.
his theory about how all of these various religions all come around to basically the same practice, although you're believing in
Mm.
something differently and saying some different things, you're still getting across the 6 second
Mm.
breath work
Absolutely.
that does amazing things for the body. And that was fascinating to me that it is that cross pan
Cross
religion,
cultural.
cross cultural.
Yeah.
We
Well,
find ourselves doing the same thing.
I'm not sure where the literature is on this, but Yahweh is obviously it means God. And in a lot of circles they attribute that to like that is the sound of breathing of it's just a breath.
Yeah,
That's the name. And like there is a lot of like words in like various religion scriptures about like how the world was breathed into life, or life was breathed into something, or
right,
like the description of like then the trees are the lungs of the earth. Like everything is
right.
very breath oriented across all of these cultures who didn't have any interaction with each other. They just came up with it independently.
Fascinating.
Super fascinating.
Speaking of the Wim Hof, have you read that book by, I think it's Scott Carney? What doesn't kill us?
I've not read his book. I have to watch a half dozen documentaries on this guy. I have his app. I did do
Yeah,
his like breathwork challenge for a month, and he's got a lot of stuff that he's added to it with like the cold exposure
right.
and that sort of thing. And I've never added that element to it. But I have done like the breathwork stuff that he puts out. I've seen the documentaries.
I'm so tempted to do the like a cold plunge. I have a good friend up in Maine who has one of those baths outside
Ooh.
in their backyard, and he will go outside in the middle of winter with a hatchet and chop a hole and sit in this little
Yeah.
bathtub. And I'm thinking, nope,
No,
I'm
there's not
I'm
a
drawing the line.
chance.
I'm not doing that.
I I love biohacking stuff. There's very few things I won't try. That's one I just can't do. I tried to do the cold showers for a little bit, and
I do that. I like that actually.
I don't know. I don't need it. I feel like I do like the sun. I get out, I get into the sun, I walk
Yep,
around, and
yep.
I let a lot of energy out of that. Sometimes it's cool, I guess, in the morning, but I don't know, but I know it is good for you. And like, especially like the contrast therapy. I know that was a big thing when I was in Finland. They would go in the saunas, obviously, and then they'd
Right.
run right out, run into the lake, get into the lake, freezing cold, be out there, and then run back and hop in the sauna again.
I think we should build a sauna up at the lake.
I agree. I agree.
I
I
think
would
that'd
love a
be,
sauna up there.
yeah.
I think that's if this podcast ever took off and I got money out of it, the two first things I would buy would be a sauna and a hyperbaric oxygen therapy tank.
You told me about the chamber that you wanted to get.
The chamber would
I'm
be
fascinated by it.
it's it's hard to explain. Like it's not like so there's the soft shell and the hard shell, right? And that's just how much pressure you can get. So soft shell you only go up a little bit.
Yeah.
And with the hard shell, you can get up a much higher and you that's where you get like a lot of the pressures that studies are done at. But there was a study out of Egypt where I think it was either 40 or 60 sessions. There was like an hour to 90 minutes a day over, I think, 2.5 months. And what they found was that the telomeres lengthened considerably to, I think it was the effect of like 10 years worth of reverse aging. And I've seen a number of people try to replicate this. And I know the
Yeah.
Brian Johnson guy, he did it, and he said from his tests that he did that he noticed that it helped his skin. It helped like the skin health, not just like look younger, but just be healthier.
Yeah.
That his inflammation, chronic inflammation, dropped to zero. But the big thing he noticed was he was, I guess, very low in Akkermansia, which is a gut bacteria that's a keystone gut bacteria. And he was supplementing it, and it wasn't doing anything for his levels at all. But when he combined it with hyperbaric, he got 1,000% increase in the population of it. And I looked into the research, and I guess it really does do wonders for your gut. And the oxygen helps feed the good bacteria and just kill the bad stuff. And if it's hard to find a thing in your body that it doesn't help.
Hmm.
But, it's like a cheap tank that's a soft shell is probably going to run you after taxes and everything like $13,000. And if you want a
Whew.
hard shell, like what, they use in these studies, that's probably going to be 100 to 150,000.
It better lengthen my telomeres.
At that point, yeah, it's better be doing something. But
Whew.
yeah, I don't know if there's a place in Nantucket. I wouldn't be shocked if there was a place that does it. And you could probably get in for like $80. It's not as expensive to get in.
But do I have to? But it sounds like I have to do it like what, several times a week, or
I think at least three. They say 3 to 5, and the more
yeah.
consistently you do it, the quicker you see results. I did 5 days a week for 2 weeks and took the weekends off, and I
Yeah.
found that worked. I don't think you want to do it every day. I don't think it's something you're
After 80
supposed to.
bucks a pop, I don't want to do it every day.
No, but for like a 10, 20 session, 3 days a week, go in for an hour, you come out, and if you do just one session, you will have the best sleep of your entire life that night.
Hmm.
Sleep like a bait. My sleep score off the charts. I did it in Hilton Head on Tuesday or Monday this year
Yep.
when we were down there. And the next 3 days after that, I had 100% recovery in sleep score. And I've never replicated that since.
Wow.
And
And you look marvelous.
thank you. Thank you.
I mean,
Uh,
after you did that, I assume.
oh, I was glowing. I was
Yeah.
glowing. And not for the usual reason of the sun coming off my pale skin. I was glowing indoors. And
Yeah.
the ladies
Internally,
told me, they're like, "You're glowing. You should buy more sessions." And I was like, I might get a
I
membership.
bet
I
they
don't
say
know.
that to everyone, but not
No,
that you
they
weren't
only said
glowing. I'm sure you were, but
they told me it was just me.
that you were special.
Yeah, they said
Yeah.
like we say this to a lot of people, but it's
We
it's
really
true
mean it
for
with
you.
you. Yeah.
It's really true. I heard a nurse say one time that someone said like she told the lady like you have a cute baby. And the lady was like, I bet you say that to everybody. And the nurse was like, nope. If they got an ugly baby, I go, you had a baby. Uh,
Uh,
have you done the blood work stuff yet? Have you looked into that?
I've looked into it. I haven't done it.
It's a
I will. I'm
very
fascinated by it.
it's very interesting. It tells you a lot and then tells you nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
You know? Like there's the biological age marker where it's like, oh, you're 6 years younger or something
Right.
like that. Like I don't really know how valid of a stat that is,
Right.
but the biggest thing is like the heavy metals and like the microplastics and the mold testing. there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that come back where you're like, oh, like I didn't even know I was like exposed to that at any
Didn't know that was
reasonable
a thing.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love it if they could come back with like what my mental age is, not my body's
Mm.
biological age, but my mental age.
How would you even measure that?
I, I,
Just like
I
they stick their finger out and they ask you to pull it and they see if you do.
yeah, probably. I'd
Like
fall for that one.
you just immediately pulled it. They're like,
Yeah.
knock a couple decades off.
Yeah.
I heard today that the myelin sheaths that protect your neurons, they don't finish
Yeah.
until you're 30. You're
Hmm.
like 30 years old before they fully finish.
Hmm.
You
I
got
don't
to
know
be
what to make of that.
I don't know what to make of that either. But it's a good thing to know. Keep it in the back pocket just in case.
And then what happens when you're twice that old?
I
I
think
mean,
they
it
might start
starts
to
going the other
deteriorate.
direction.
Not if you're doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Oh, right.
You
Yeah.
got to stay on top of that stuff.
Right. Hmm.
I wonder this, and then you would be. I feel like, if you think about like what the stuff your parents and your grandparents did for their health,
Yeah.
and then you compare it to the stuff that you do versus what I do and what, the next
Yeah.
generation will do.
Right.
Every generation, it's like I believe I'm reading a book right now about it's like breaking illusions or something. I forget the name of it, but it's about life in the 1800s, early 1900s, and the whole book is about how a lot of people think of it as like Great Gatsby and these old westerns and the American Civil War, and they don't have like a grasp of just how dirty and um, awful things generally were. Like they
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about this, like the streets of New York, 3 feet of poo from all the horses that
Right.
people had to wade through every single day. And they're like, why is everyone getting infections? And it's like, well, that's why. It's because you're surrounded by filth all the time. And one of the things it talks about was how your outcomes were sort of a bell curve of if you were very poor, they were awful because you couldn't afford anything. But if you were
Right.
very rich, they were bad because you got the latest stuff and it would have like mercury in it or something. And you'd just be throwing mercury back and you had bad health outcomes. And it was sort of the people in the middle that ended up having the best outcomes for their health. And I think about that now with like, obviously we have better science, but are we going to in a few years be like, man, they used to stick themselves in hyperbaric tanks, and I had
Yeah,
no idea.
100%. I mean, whether it's a hyperbaric 10 or not, I think about that kind of thing all the time where
Oh yeah.
what are we doing now that in 40 years people will look back and say like, seriously, they thought that was a good thing?
I think the layup is the making everything
I
out of plastic.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That's got that we know that's one.
right.
That's gonna
Yeah.
be a big problem. And the thing is, like it's the old age-old excuse of like, well, what we can't prove it does anything bad, and I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't mean it doesn't do anything bad. We just haven't figured out what it is.
We're starting to now.
Oh, nothing is going well. Nothing is
Yeah.
going well. But it's also like, how do you even mitigate that? It's kind of impossible to not have plastic exposure.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
look at where microplastics are showing up everywhere, and I think it is virtually impossible. I mean, I think you can do things to obviously improve the situation
right.
so it's not as bad, but there's stuff that we're all exposed to just walking down the street or
It's like,
whatever.
does any of it like, is there one thing that like, like in your day-to-day life, what do you like take steps to avoid, and what do you sort of go like, there's only so much I can do before it's uh,
Yeah.
like Darren Olean has a great book, Fatal Conveniences.
Yeah, I've
Like
got yeah,
it
it's really
does
good.
make your life easier, but it is probably hurting you to a large degree.
Right. It can also depress the hell out of you as you think more, read more and think more about it and realize that there's
Yeah.
some stuff that you just can't do anything about. And at
Yeah.
some point you're like, you just got to live life and
Yeah.
trying to find that balance of what you can do and, don't
Right.
lose your mind by, you know, worrying that you're exposed to all this stuff. Kind
Where
of
do
to
you
your
do it
earlier point
personally?
about can you find a middle ground rather than being on either end of the bell curve? Can you kind of find a middle ground where you don't either, expose yourself to some significant physical issue or mental issue. I think
Sure.
both of those things, um, go
Where's
hand in
your
hand
middle
on that.
ground right now?
Where's my middle ground?
Yeah.
I'm seeking to find it. It's getting larger, so I should my
Do you
middle.
find as you get older, where you're more likely to like, you know, like with like what would be a good example of like with plastic, right? Like
Yeah,
as you get older, do you feel like you're more apt to, cut stuff out of your life or like inconvenience yourself slightly to try to reduce exposure, or do you feel like you're less likely like, I'm getting older, I'm not going to give up the convenience.
yeah, it's a good question. Probably a little bit of both. I think there are some things I definitely try to do. At the same time, I'm also probably a little more lenient with myself in terms of not letting it dictate my life or really get me down.
Yeah.
So some stuff I'm just finding as I get older, I have an easier time just kind of letting it go or
Hmm.
um, coming to terms with it, maybe. But there are some like I try to drink out of a glass when I can instead of a plastic
Hmm.
cup or um, uh, but again, I'm not gonna spend my whole waking day like losing
Worrying
my
about it.
mind, going crazy, trying to
Yeah.
make something happen that'll just take forever. And I'm not sure that's the right answer, but
Well, I feel like it's like you said, like you take a bottle around that's metal or whatever or glass, and then you just sort of say like, yeah, I'm doing this is it, and it's going to reduce it a little bit, but
right.
I've heard, I'm not sure if this is true, but I have heard that beta glucans from mushrooms speed up the excretion process and do a lot to help your body get that stuff out of you. Because
Mushrooms
meds,
certainly seem to be this incredibly interesting.
fascinating,
Uh,
fascinating.
yeah,
Whether they're
I,
psychoactive or not.
yeah, right. I mean, some stuff it clearly has benefit too, but
Yeah.
um,
I'll
still
say
seems like a lot we don't know. But
I tried a lot of supplements when I was trying to feel better. There was very few things that had as quick an immediate impact as taking mushrooms did.
yeah,
And it wasn't even psychoactive kinds. It was just a couple mushrooms that I think what they do is I think it's your gut. Like I think
right.
it's what the effect they're having on your gut is what is really getting to people. But like I know in Japan they use mushroom extracts to treat cancer very effectively. And um they it's very good for autoimmune diseases. It just has a little bit of everything, and I really think it's the gut and the
And
stuff
I
it
mean,
can
there are so
do.
many different kinds. I mean, and then you're not even talking about hallucinogenic mushrooms. You're
No,
talking
not
about,
even.
well, but
Yeah, just like turkey tail and agarikon and those types,
right,
cordyceps and chaga. Lion's mane helps
right.
regrow nerves in your brain
Maybe
and
your brain.
increases brain neurotropic factor. Like it's
Yeah,
it's such a unique thing in the world.
yeah.
It's and like where did it come from? Like why do mushrooms exist? And what does it say about us that we have such a positive reaction to them?
I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I don't know.
You are the
But
Zen master though.
uh, well, it depends on the day. Some days I'm I'm a better Zen master than others.
We needed you on the golf course because there was no Zen.
I I could have told you that was going to happen.
It,
I still don't know how you let John win that.
yeah, I don't. I'm telling you, the military did something to that kid because he
It
just
didn't improve his golf game, did it?
no, not at all.
So it's all
Uh,
psychological.
yeah, he shot the score he would have shot anyway,
Yeah.
regardless of his breakdown. I
So you
think
just couldn't throw him as easily, get him in his head, and
I
yeah,
don't know what it was. Like we just got
mm,
in our own, and everything was fine through nine.
yeah,
Everything was fine through nine. It was as you would expect. Me in front, Noah a little behind, John a ways behind, and then he just stayed consistent, and Noah and I just slowly fell apart,
right.
and it
Well,
was
as
still
we've talked
close.
about on that course, you you turn the corner and you play that 10th hole, and the wheels can come off quickly.
You go into the valley and you don't
The
return the
valley,
same.
yeah, yeah, everything
You don't
changes.
return the same.
No,
Yeah.
golf
That's
is a trying game.
yeah. My dad told me
Maybe
a
you should
story.
take mushrooms when you play golf next time.
I was thinking about that. I was like, I just macrodose on lion's mane. I'm gonna take 5 grams and see what happens.
Yeah,
You see the golfer this past weekend that I said he OD'd on creatine before the round.
really?
He has like creatine drink that he has that he drinks,
Yeah,
but it kind of clumped in a big ball, like a like a ping pong sized ball. And when he went to
yikes.
go back, he ended up eating the whole thing. So who knows how much he had? But he said he by the time he got to the first green, his hands were shaking and his whole body was vibrating. And he was like, he ended up like six putting or something. Like he made triple bogey on the first hole, and he
Hit the
was like,
ball 400 yards, but then six putted.
and he was like, I might need to call the round. Am I okay? And then he got a double bogey on the second hole. He made a bogey on three, and then he ended up par after. So like it did slowly wear off, but he did briefly macrodose creatine.
Well, next summer, I hope we can repeat it, and I want to go down into the valley with you guys on that one and see who emerges.
Yeah, I the best rounds were that summer after COVID when we were golfing like every other week.
Yeah,
And
that
we're
was fun.
very consistent with it, and that's when we got good. And I feel
Yeah,
like now it's just trying to remember what I did last year this time, and that's about it. It's
stop trying to remember. That's my first piece of advice.
stop trying to remember and just do, just be the ball.
Be the
I
ball,
had a
Danny.
I had a strategy for a while where before I would hit a shot, I would stop and I would listen for the sound of an animal,
Hmm.
whether it be a bird or a chipmunk or something. I would just pause and I would listen for the sound of an animal, and I
Is
wouldn't
that
hit the.
why there was a period of time when it would take you like 20 seconds to swing the club?
Yep,
You
I
heard
was
you heard no animals?
I was waiting for animals.
I wish
If I
I'd
didn't hear
known
it,
that.
I
I would have
wasn't
been
swinging.
doing bird calls left, right, and center just to get you to swing the
Yeah,
club.
people and just making the little whistles, and then I'll go. But it worked. I feel like I
Hmm.
made more solid contact. It brings me to that good place. It slows everything down. There is a guy, I don't know where he's from. I think he's from Korea, but he's on TikTok. He's got the smoothest golf swing, and it's so simple, and it's so calm, and it's
Yeah,
so smooth, and it just looks so repeatable. And I don't understand why it is so hard to execute that.
because you're looking for animal sounds when you're middle of your backswing.
I'm waiting to hear the goats that never were.
Oh, they're there. The goats are. They
Yeah, they
happen. We
are.
just missed our chance.
We missed an incredible window.
Yeah, it's
With
probably
that,
still open.
oh yeah, no, that's I see it on their social media all the time. People have these goat businesses where they'll clear somebody's yard or
Right.
people will come and hug them for therapy or whatever. Like,
We
pick,
have two goats at one of our historic properties here on the island.
do you?
Yeah.
Are they historic goats?
With every day that goes by, they are more and more historic.
Become more a part of the ethos of the island.
Right.
Okay, this is a good segue because this has been all over the place. I would love your
Where are
opinion.
we segueing from, and where are we
Oh,
going to?
we're going to the goats of the island, but now we're talking about the greatest of all times on the island
Ah,
because I have seen, I don't know what it was. I think if I had to go back, last year there was like an obsession on TikTok, but social media with like old money aesthetic. And so like JFK, I would see all these edits of JFK where people were like
yeah.
romanticizing this like aesthetic of Americana. And then something happened over the winter and people decided Nantucket was like the place to be. And I have seen more people that are just on going to Nantucket to do like their social media influencer stuff this summer than I've seen ever. And then I saw an article in, I
Sorry,
think it
hold
was
on.
like the New York Times or something about a influencer who was apparently wreaking havoc on the locals and like causing a disturbance because she's trying to do her influencer stuff. And then I
Right.
talked to Noah and he says, I've not seen him. She's not been in my realm at all.
I heard about her as well, but I have not seen her. And this may come as a shock to you, but I don't actually have TikTok on my phone.
It's it's a good thing because then there'd be no influencers, it'd just be you.
Yeah, that would be an alarming thing. The TikTok would have died a long time ago. The Chinese would have tracked me down and uh, made sure I wasn't doing it anymore. So,
Have you guys started
seriously,
something
you
like
guys aren't all you Utes. You're not concerned about the Chinese TikTok,
so
or do you just not even care anymore? I'm kind of that way too. I mean, social media or whatever. I'm not, again, I barely use social media of any kind,
yeah,
but
I think that it's sort of like microplastics. Like
yeah.
there's no way to prevent you. Are you familiar with oh, what's it called? It's not Pantheon. A marathon or like Phantom or something. I forget what it's called. We're gonna call it Phantom, but I don't think that's the right name for it. But
Okay.
Phantom One was the thing where they would send like an email, and if you open the email, you would get like a virus that
Oh
would
yeah, yeah.
hack, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
now there's Phantom Two,
Right.
which if as long as they like send it to you, then they
Yeah.
can get into your computer. And then there's Phantom 3 where they just need your phone number and they can get everything, right? And
Yeah.
so it's increasingly obvious that like data is just not secure and it's almost impossible to secure it. So for me, it's more of a thing of like, I need to know what they're doing with it, right? So one thing that was explained to me was Russia and China, their approach to hacking is sort
Yeah.
of we're going to grab everything and then we'll sort through it and see what's valuable. Whereas the US is very strategic of like, what is the thing we want here? And then we do like a needle point approach. We grab the thing we want and then we look at it. We don't
Hmm.
do the shotgun approach at all. And
Yeah.
so the negative side of that for us is they have a lot of information that maybe not be valuable at the moment, but maybe in the future is. And like, what are they
Right.
doing with it? Are they using it to figure out like how to use propaganda against us? And if that's the case, then what does that look like? So for me, it's more about being aware of that sort of thing. And I think it just comes down to like reading the news and having good independent journalists that are on YouTube or X or who are writing for opinion pieces for big newspapers like the Times or something that you get all of these sources in that are letting you know what's going on, and then you see someone who's like contradicting that and trying to tell you like, oh look, I went to North Korea and I had a great time, and you're like, yeah, maybe they're getting paid to say something like that.
I've always thought there would be a great film around this idea of some guy who is just so anxiety ridden about being hacked and all of this stuff, his secrets being, kept, like you said, and
Yeah.
eventually being used against him, that he decides he's going to take matters into his own hands and he's just going to do whatever he can that's just out of left field, crazy stuff to try to throw off the algorithms and to try to throw off the hackers. So,
That
he's
would
logging on to all these different websites and he's doing this, and you
Oh,
can create a really funny,
I can tell you this, his name is
funny
Sam.
movie, I think, around that idea.
It'd be a
You're going to
documentary
do that
called The
movie?
Life of Sam. Oh, I did that for a very long time.
You deliberately tried to throw off the algorithm?
Well, I got really freaked out because like there'd be stuff that you'd be like, I thought about this thing the other day, and all of a sudden it's in my algorithm,
Right.
and it really freaked me out. And so I tried to do an experiment where I was like, I'm going to go to all of these websites, but I'm going to think about this. And I'm going to see what gets pulled into my algorithm. And I'm going to
Yeah.
try to throw it off. But the problem is like your algorithm gets very catered to you and it's very enjoyable. Like you can go on TikTok and for 5 minutes you can get video after video that is just right. It's perfect. And you'll laugh incredibly hard. I get a lot of videos where the video isn't funny, but the comment section is very funny, and it just delivers it time after time.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is like it clearly knows a lot about me and my tendencies. Um,
But if you start deliberately trying to screw up the AI or the
didn't
the
work.
algorithms so that they think they know your tendencies, they know your tendencies no matter what your actual patterns are. And then do your if you do that, do then your actual do your deliberately fake efforts become your actual efforts.
It didn't work. I think it turned. My only explanation is during COVID when we would play hockey, we were told we couldn't spit on the ice, and you would go, "Oh, that's easy. I don't spit on the ice." Or when they say like, "Don't touch your face," like spread germs, and you go, "That's great. I'd never touch my
Right.
face." And then you realize you actually touch your face all the time.
Doing it all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
it's sort of that thing of like, I'm gonna think about it and I'm not gonna say it, and I'm gonna do this other stuff, and then you find out like subconsciously you are talking about it a lot and like interacting with it without even thinking about it. And it's just so subconscious that it's like it's not possible to throw the algorithm off. I'm my understanding, I
I don't
want
know. I think if you deliberately were typing in searches for like whatever, just
I
crazy out of control stuff,
I tried.
what would happen?
I tried to throw it off with like I was doing a lot of searches for like volleyball. Like I was doing a lot of volleyball searches, like European volleyball, college volleyball, all that sort of thing, just to see if like I would get volleyball highlights in my
Hmm.
feed. And then in my head, I
Yeah.
was thinking, I'm gonna think about baseball, right? And this is middle of winter. I was doing
Ah.
this. So I'm gonna
Mm.
think about baseball. I want to see
Yeah.
baseball highlights, but I'm gonna search up volleyball on
Yeah.
YouTube, all that sort of thing. And I didn't get any volleyball highlights, and I got a bunch of baseball. And the only thing I can say is I must have been doing something subconsciously because there's no way it could read my mind, as far as I'm aware. I must be
Well, it seems
subconsciously.
like that's not a massive departure for you. I'm thinking like, what if you searched, what needs or how do I? What if you really threw them off?
What are you thinking?
Nothing really, I guess. I mean, those are just a few ideas that I just thought of now, but I bet we could
Hmm.
really come up with a whole menu of crazy searches and ideas.
I'm gonna show. I'll show you something after this is done. Do you get the AI summaries of the Zoom meetings?
I do not, not
Oh,
usually.
I'm gonna send you. I'll send you it afterwards. Whenever I do these, I get these now in my like email. I'll forward it to you. It's insane how accurate it is.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just
it's
pick.
crazy how fast and how good this is getting. This is all getting. But
Do you
I
guys
don't
use
know.
it
I
at
feel like
all at
we
the?
need to tilt against the windmills a little bit here. Like, yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit. We're talking more and more. I mean, we're looking into that. I mean, AI is going to have a huge impact, I think, on every industry, museums included. But
Yeah. Well, we were talking about
I
this
don't know.
today.
I just part of me just wants to screw it all up somehow.
Yeah, I don't even know how
There's
you would
got to
do
be a
that
way
though.
we as human beings can fight back.
It's
Are we really just in a game simulation? I guess that's really what this is boiling down to.
no.
It feels like we're getting closer and closer to that.
I don't think that's the case. All the people that throw that out there, like here, the way I look at it is, I think people think AI is more. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in my mind. Let me say it that way. Of AI knows um, like publicly available data at this point. Like ChatGPT has been trained on pretty much all publicly available data, right?
Yeah.
And so people will be like, "Oh, I asked this AI this and it gave me this creepy answer where it was like, "Oh, like hey, if you guys took over, would you spare me?" And the AI would be like, "Maybe, maybe not." And like it would act and people come out and be like, "Oh, it's just like this movie." I'm like, "Well, yeah. AI is programmed to be a predictive answering machine. There's no cognitive thinking happening. It's looking over what the best thing to finish is. So when you present it with a scenario from a movie, it's going to see that and say, well, the next thing I should say is this because that's what happened in the movie. So it's a self fulfilling. If we did a bunch of movies about how AI was our friends, then that's the answers we would get. The AI isn't thinking on its own. And I think
Well, that's
the people that think that they're just getting caught up in this like like they're it's the movies. Like people are using movies as like their barometer for what should be happening. And a
I
lot of
guess
people,
that's my point, and I honestly just don't know the answer to this. I'm ignorant when it comes to this stuff. But like, if we just start taking over Chat GPT by answering or by asking these crazy questions and trying
yeah,
to, you know, mess with it,
yeah.
does it start to change its thinking?
Yeah, I mean,
Does it spit out different answers?
you can convince it of some things. There are things that are clearly hard coded into it. Like you can definitely, um, if you talk to ChatGPT, it's very clear you're talking to Sam Altman's AI. And the similar of like if you talk to Grok, it's very clear that Elon Musk trained Grok. Like you can kind of see the
Yeah,
like the overseer in the AI and how it conceptualizes problems and how it looks at problems and the answers it gives and that sort of thing. But
yeah.
you can convince it of a lot of different things, and it's very impressive until you ask it about something you're actually an expert in. Like if you really press it, like if I really press it on hockey, then I go, okay, it's not that smart. It's because it's not thinking logically on the cutting edge of what we would be thinking about or talking, right? So I guess
Hmm.
it depends on how much of your job is like critical thinking, you know? Like I think it
Yeah.
could, if you said like, hey, put an exhibit together, it might be able to do that, but it's not
Oh,
going to
sure,
come,
it could. Yeah,
but it's going to come up with like a 5 out of 10. Like it's going to be
yeah.
good enough where like it's an average, but it's never going to give you that 10 out of 10 exhibit. It's that requires human input.
Right.
And I just
Well,
don't
for
see
now,
how
anyway,
you
it
can,
does. But
yeah, I don't see how you can create that which you don't understand. Like we don't understand critical thinking or consciousness. So how
there's
can
a
you
lot I don't understand, and somehow I get through the day.
every day you do?
Yeah, and there's most stuff I don't understand.
Yeah. So how would AI understand it?
Well, I
It
mean, it's
it
if
knows less than you.
I disagree. Some
It
things maybe, but I think it knows way more than I do.
it can quickly
If I
search
can
and
call it it.
regurgitate more information.
Yeah.
It can search for patterns. I would assume it'd be very helpful with verifying objects or like doing mass searches for relics or artwork.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I would assume it'd be very helpful for that.
Yeah.
Um,
But I
but
guess that's my point. I don't know. Maybe it's just I don't know.
how do you feel about robots?
There's I don't like them.
Like you don't see yourself like, you know, 80 years old, like with a robot to just help you out?
No. Well, maybe. I shouldn't say no. Maybe. If it could bring me a great, beautifully brewed cup of fresh coffee every day,
Yeah,
you know,
I
bring
would
it to
say
me in
that's
bed
pretty
or something like
reasonable.
that, I might sign up for that.
Yeah.
But
Get
beyond that, like, I don't know.
get you a
Do some
coffee,
laundry.
cook you some food, laundry, and like if you fall, help you get up and make sort of be like an emergency contact. C3PO. I would imagine like C3PO.
Hmm. I don't know. I've never, yeah, I get it. And I know that's coming. I also have to say that when did, and I think this is one of the problems that we face as a culture,
Hmm.
when did all the science fiction dorks take over the world? I like the fact
Yeah.
that we're spending so many billions of dollars to try to get to Mars when we have so many issues right here. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to go to Mars. Put me on a street corner in France at a cafe trying to understand what the hell's going on all around me. I'm far more interested in that. When did
Yeah.
science fiction, I
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
think it's
I don't know. I have a real problem with sort of where we've gone as a computer
yeah.
science fiction, you know, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm saying, but
I know what you're saying.
it feel,
Like, I think it's sort of the parable of like like creatives of like why are people creative? Because it's not helpful most of the time, right? Of
yeah,
like what do they contribute to society? And it's sort of the story of like the people who are hardworking and diligent, they go out and they fish. and they catch something and they bring it back. And the person who's creative, they go out and they don't do anything, don't catch anything.
Yeah.
And they don't catch anything for a week. And then people are like, you need to start pulling your weight. You're not doing anything. Like you're not helpful. You're just kind of mucking around. And then the next week they don't catch anything. And then they're like, you really need to do something. And then the next week they're like, we've had enough with this guy. We need to get rid of him. Next day he goes out, he catches 20 fish because he figured out how to make a fishing net. And
Yeah.
now he's figured out I can catch 30 fish at a time and we've just saved all this labor. 3 weeks he was useless, but one day he was helpful. And I
Yeah, I
think,
totally get that. I think that's
yeah,
great.
and I
That's why you
think
have
this
those
is the
breakthroughs.
version of that of like they're doing a lot of stuff that's just not helpful for us day to day, but there'll be that one thing that is. You know what I mean? Like the electric
Yeah.
car.
I mean, I know that's true with like NASA and the space program and all the creations and inventions that came from that that were maybe unintended at the
Yeah,
time that led to further breakthroughs like computers and other things like that. But I I don't know. Isn't most of this just like Bezos having, this is
for
it's
sure.
this is
For sure.
just a
It's
fantasy
just,
dream for him that he can go do this and like
yeah.
I don't
Well, I was thinking
know.
about
I
this
don't know.
too. Like, what would you actually want $1 billion?
Would I?
Yeah,
I'd like to find out.
I wouldn't. I would. I am
I
terrified of
think
the
I could use
idea.
it, and I think I could use it for a lot of good and have
Well,
fun doing it.
that's the thing is like I think that too, but like I also know that that sort of thing changes a person.
No
Like
question about it.
it's
Yeah,
easy for me to say it, and
yeah,
it's I think the key is honestly to know when to say no and to
right,
like give it away. Like the more you keep it, I think it's not healthy for your brain, and
right.
it's just like it's clearly like the way they pursue wealth, they're clearly competing with each other. Like it's very
Yeah.
much this like it's an insecurity between them. And I think, like you said, it's like they're sci-fi kids, and that's the narrative they tell themselves. They build themselves up as this like Star Trekian hero or whatever, and that's the story they tell themselves about their lives. Because like, have you ever seen those accounts where like it's successful people
Yeah.
giving their advice of like how to be successful, and if you listen to enough, everyone will contradict somebody at some point. Like they'll be like, do as many things as possible. Focus only on one thing. You need to invest in this. Don't
Right.
invest your money in the stock market. Like everyone will give and like it's I think it's they come up with these stories of like who they are that basically allows them to wrap their heads around of the fact that they are billionaires, crazy successful, and it other than like they just can't accept that it was luck. That
I
they're
mean, like,
not
what
there's
if
a
though? I mean,
Yeah, it's mostly luck. There's a
so
lot of
sorry.
smart
Just for
people.
instance, but like, so what if? I mean, everything converges at a certain time and place, and the results have consequences. And but what if
Yeah,
in the late '60s and '70s, science fiction wasn't like the leading um, sort of type of show or program wasn't so popular. What if in the '70s it wasn't Star Trek, but it was like foraging for food or organic farming was the popular show
yeah.
somehow. Somebody created a really funny organic farming show. Would Bezos and Musk and others, who were clearly influenced by Star Trek, would they now be like, planting organic gardens all over the world and helping the rainforest and doing things that would really make a difference in terms of the environment, or were they just shooting rockets into space? Still, because
I mean, it's a good question.
I
I
don't know.
mean,
It's
it's a
it's
good
interesting to
question.
me,
It's kind of like what are they exposed to? Like those children's stories do
right?
set the tone for a long time. I mean, when you look at like old architecture of like these beautiful cathedrals in Europe, their book was the Bible. And so they built these grand cathedrals out of that, and like a lot of the art came out of that. And the stories of the day, and like the children's stories especially. And you look at early Disney when they were really kicking with Snow White and then Cinderella and all these
Mhm.
different things, and you watch them back and you're like,
Yeah,
this is a crazy kids show that, you know, it dictates how kids grow up. And then you look at them today and your kids are going to grow up to be a little different because like now they don't even have kid shows because they can just go on TikTok and see anything.
yeah,
So you have an infinite number of influences that could send you in an infinite number of directions,
yeah.
and you have careers that like, has there ever been this big of a shift in the job market of like what even constitutes a job anymore?
Mm,
Because so many are getting taken away. So what are you going to do with your life? I think we're going to see a bigger,
right.
this problem exacerbated more than anything. And I don't, I think it's not a coincidence that so many people go for organic farming and permaculture and these sort of things of like, I just don't like where this is going and I don't want to be a part of it. I want to get back to the roots. And there's always going to be a thing.
Right.
But then there's always going to be the Musks of the world. And like, I really think it's just a happenstance of he ended up being a billionaire and it could have easily been somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
is he smart? Sure. Is he objectively smarter than everybody else? No, there's plenty of people smarter than him. There's plenty of people as smart as him. He just, however the dice rolled, it worked out that he was the one that ended up with all the money.
So somewhere along the way, you started to talk about a segue into goats, and then I think we veered instantly away from it. Did you want to
Yeah.
go back to that?
Oh, I was just going to talk about like, well, it's kind of a good segue because I was talking today with, obviously I have the website, right, that I'm building up and the company and the software. And we were talking today
Yeah,
about what do we do with the
yeah,
data, right? Like what can we build with that data? And one of the things we were talking about was a risk
right,
assessment score of how risky of an investment is this athlete, is this college athlete? And I was talking about like the
right.
ethics and morals of it, of if it's just a score that's going over known markers that a coach would look at anyway and saying you're vulnerable on these areas, but it's not predicting outcomes. I'm okay with that. But once we get into the territory of using it to try to predict how the person will behave in the future, that's where for me it crosses a line into this is not moral or ethical. And this is getting very close to like Black Mirror social credit score type deal. And like, where do we draw the line with the
Yeah.
data? Because I would love to use the data to build machine learning algorithms that help people, you know, get the most out of the college experience. Use mass amounts of college data to feed the kids to be like, all right, here's how you get out with the least amount of student debt and get your career on the right path. And we're just going to look at all of the people in the workforce and get this massive data set. But I'm not trying to. You ever read The Giver? The
Yes.
book. I'm not trying to
Yep.
like get that where I'm like, you're going to be this, you're this person. Like I've looked at all of your things, you project out to be this and take the autonomy away from people.
Hmm.
Like that's the line. And the problem is like I think the way the just profits are set up is the people that are going to cross that line are generally going to make more profit.
So, sorry, I'm being slow. How does this relate to goats? I missed the segue.
Um, oh, I would, I think the goats we were just talking about like businesses, business ideas, right?
Oh, as it relates to business ideas. Yeah.
As it relates
Got
to
it. Okay.
business ideas.
Okay.
Because we've had a few over the years.
We have
Relaxatives.
indeed. That is true. Yeah.
I thought
Yep. Some
relaxatives was
excellent ones.
a great CBD product.
What was? Oh,
Relaxatives.
relaxatives. Still think it's a great idea.
I, if we sell this company, that's the next business venture.
Yeah.
The capital will go directly into those CBD, and we'll just get incredibly high doses of CBD and mushrooms.
I think we need a great actor to sort of play the lead on our TV commercials when we have to say, may cause, fainting, incontinence,
We could have
diarrhea,
someone to act all those things
premature
out.
death, all that stuff. Yeah. By the way, those ads need to be completely rethought and redone. I swear there's one ad agency that has all of the ads for these. pharmaceutical companies, and they all just do the exact same thing. There's got to be a better way.
There's got to, that would be a great
It,
spin though, as like as they're talking about them, just have the actor act out all the symptoms.
yeah, I think relaxatives is that first one.
That would be
It's
an
the gateway for
unbelievable
us to
marketing.
change the whole advertising paradigm for drug companies.
Oh, I mean, they may get pulled off the air very soon. That's the word on the street, and we're one of the few people that even let them do that.
Which street?
With Pennsylvania Avenue,
Oh,
they
okay.
they want to take them because I believe it's us in New Zealand. We're the only countries that allow people to run those ads, and I don't
Really?
even believe the conversion off of them is very high. Nobody's like
How
buying
could they
drugs.
be?
They're not.
I think
It's
it's
just to
sending
like
people to the
support the
loony bin. I hate those ads. They drive me crazy.
nobody likes them. They're not making money off of them. It's just supporting financially the
Right,
network is what they're
right.
for. So why not have fun with them? Why
Totally agree.
not? Like if this is your last year of having them, let's go
Yeah,
crazy and let's make some crazy awesome ads.
yeah. I think relaxatives could be, again, there's a great narrative there waiting to be told.
We just got to get Sydney Sweeney. She can sell anything.
Really? Is that who you would choose?
Well, honestly, it's tough because I feel like the obvious ones like Woody Harrelson or like Snoop Dogg or Martha Stewart,
Right.
like the obvious ones they've been done. I feel like you
Yeah.
got to get somebody new, but you can't get someone who's like a known pothead because you don't want like that to be the vibe. You want the vibe to be like a normal everyday person. And like who could you get
How
that
about
like
Steve Carell?
maybe. I feel like you would want to go someone younger.
Okay.
Maybe. The thing is like how do you find someone who has like mass appeal? Who appeals to everyone? So maybe Sydney Sweeney wouldn't be a good idea because she doesn't have mass appeal. The Rock?
He doesn't seem relaxed. Seems very intense.
Yeah.
But maybe to your point, if we could get him relaxed, I mean, if we could get him hooked on laxatives, that would he would things
You
would
know,
change.
unbelievable product placement. Just him in every video, just until we find out they're actually extremely addicting. And he has to go to rehab for laxatives.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, that sells itself. It
Yeah,
sells itself.
absolutely.
We
Yeah.
could sell like a laxative like Zyn. So like those like tobacco pouches.
Oh yeah.
Could we not make like a CBD version of those?
Hmm.
I have these little like troches things that you get that
Yeah.
have. I had one that had methylene blue in it, but you put it on your
Okay.
tongue, and it just like dissolves and absorbs very quickly.
Do you have any idea what it's really doing to you? I mean, you're worried about microplastics.
Oh,
Or,
that
or
one. That my methylene blue is a trip because my pee was green.
wow.
Because like I was a little
Hmm.
dehydrated, so the yellow plus the blue, so my pee was like grass green, and I did the first time incredible boost of energy. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I was 10, just hop up ready to go. But then
Yeah.
after that, it backed off. I've seen
Hmm.
some people that have to take it and they get good results for like epilepsy and seizures.
Backed off to like you were 15 or 20 or what? Like when you say
Yeah,
backed
it
off.
did. I just didn't feel any effects of it after a certain
Oh,
point. And obviously, you have to like make sure you don't take too much.
right.
That one's definitely one you got to be wary of.
Hmm.
That was a very short-lived one. I take one now that has cordyceps, which is like an extract from cordyceps mushrooms. That's very good for your immune system and for like sleep. Um, I they have one for sleep and relaxation that I think has like GABA and stuff in it, but I haven't looked at it. But they're not like terribly expensive, and it's pretty close to pharmaceutical grade stuff. Some of them is pharmaceutical grade, and you need a doctor to get them.
Do you worry at all when you say it's pretty close to pharmaceutical grade that you're kind of
Uh,
dancing on a pin here, like where, like, what if you just happen to go over that threshold without?
Uh,
All
I'm
right. I'm assuming like this stuff eventually, well, maybe not. I was going to say it's going to be pretty strictly regulated, but
well, I take NAC, the stuff I gave you, and that was one
yeah.
they tried to pull to make prescription only. It is prescription only in some countries.
Now you tell me that after you gave it to me.
It's very safe. It's very safe. Yeah. I didn't want you to freak out, but it that's how I knew it would
Dude,
work is because like they're not going to make it prescription only if it doesn't work. You know what I mean? It does work.
whatever.
It's just you have to be careful about not taking too much. So that's why I told you like make sure you take this amount.
Ah,
Yeah.
hmm.
Yeah, it works very, very well. I would say it doesn't prevent you from getting a cold, but it can shorten the duration of your cold and flu. I know some emergency room doctors take it prophylactically during certain seasons because they're exposed to so
Yeah.
much stuff. Um, but yeah, it's that was one that they tried to make prescription and people fought it to keep it over the counter. And it's I think you just got to research and be aware of what the dosages are and know like this is something ChatGPT is great for of like, hey, look through all of the research on PubMed and tell me what the dosing is for different things. So
Hmm.
you can see and then you can go through and figure it out and know like, okay, I'm not going to take the full thing. I'm going to take a fourth of it and I'm going to be good to go.
How do you have time to do all this research though? And like, as a just a normal run of the mill person, like I barely have time to, I don't know, pour myself a cup of coffee in the morning, go to the bathroom, get my pants on straight, and get to work in time. When am I gonna actually sit down and
I
do the
mean,
kind of research that you're talking about?
I mean, you can do deep research on ChatGPT and just leave it and it will be done in 3 4 minutes. And then you
Hmm.
just like ask it to summarize and it will summarize. It's very quick.
Maybe that's what I need my robot to be doing.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing I was gonna ask is like, at what point does AI and robot merge?
Right.
Is the outcome Star Wars? Because they have tons of robots in Star Wars. Is that the end game? Like, is that going to inform a lot of people of how we interact? Of like, we know that there are some robots that are bad and some that are just typical run of the mill everyday robots.
If it does, I hope it's more akin to the earlier Star Wars movies, which I know they're out of number with the books, and so I
Yeah,
always forget what the
the
numbers are. But
originals.
like,
The originals.
yeah, the original movies. I hope it's closer to those robots than to some of the later ones.
Did you see Star Wars on opening like
The
weekend
first movie?
in the 77?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see it like the day it came out, but I saw it pretty soon after it came out.
Do you remember like the lead up to that? Like, did you know this big movie was coming out, or was it more like the movie
I don't
came
remember
out and then
knowing
it,
about it until after it came out, and then all the hubbub that kind of came around with it. Um, but I remember I saw it in Boston with my best friend and his mom. She took us to go see it, and um, I thought it was pretty cool.
was it like, what was revolutionary about it? Was it just like the special effects?
Special effects were a big part of it for sure. The music, the sort of the whole story, the narrative.
Yeah.
Um,
Did it have something to do with the Cold War?
if it did at the time, that didn't. I was that was over my head. Um,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah, I
feel.
mean, you could certainly. I'm sure many people have made that case. Is that
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, though. I mean, I feel like they said there was something to do with like Vietnam and the Cold War. Like it was like were big
sure?
influences and like obviously like the rebels and the empire and like
Right.
it's not like it's hard to
Yeah, it'd be
figure out the
easy to
messaging.
make that connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's true for. I mean, so good versus evil.
Yeah, it's
Sort of
not.
the binary, approach to storytelling.
Yeah. Have
Uh,
there's a video game. My introduction to Star Wars was through a video game. And there's a character in this I was like 10 when I played this, but there's a character in the game where the first video game that they make was a like video game of the year, which was crazy for a game of this type. Like usually these like they're called RPG MMORPGs or just RPGs, which is massively multi online player role playing game.
or,
So
Yep.
this was a role-playing game where you go in and you can create yourself as a Jedi and you play the story and you can pick what you say and the ending's a little different depending on what you say. And you can be a good guy or a bad guy. And the first one is like your stereotypical Star Wars story, right? Good versus evil. But the
Yep.
second one was made by a different company that decided to do a deconstruction of Star Wars. And the character that's sort of like your mentor, the whole time you're playing the game, she's pointing out the shortcomings of the Jedi philosophy, but she's also pointing out the shortcomings of like the Sith philosophy of good and evil
Yeah.
and talking about how like I remember very vividly there's a point in the game where you meet someone who's poor and they ask for $5. And if your options are give them or the $5 or not give them. And if you give him the $5, he runs away. And then the character will be like, why did you give him $5? And you'll be like, well, he needed it and I have the money. And then you'll see a cutscene of that person getting robbed by other homeless people and the person explaining to you like you gave them money they didn't earn and so they don't have the strength to defend it because they didn't have the strength to acquire it and you just made them a target for other people and then you see the person get beat up and robbed and killed and you're like oh my gosh so you reload the game and then you don't
You were
give them
10?
I was 10 and you reload the game and then you don't give him any money and then he runs away and then the person goes why didn't you help this person and you go, well, you just said not to. Like they got beat up, and then they show a cutscene of the person starving and dying again, and they basically say, if you just let suffering continue for no reason, then all you do is imbue echoes of suffering onto others, and suffering perpetuates and continues until somebody steps in to end the suffering and to help people. And it
I,
became this very like philosophical game on what is good and what is evil.
and you were 10.
I was 10.
I don't think I can play that game now.
It was I
Like,
played
how are you doing that at age 10? And when I was 10, I couldn't even, like, I was watching Scooby Doo and, riding my bike in circles around on the lawn.
oh, I
Like,
was like trying to solve deep ethical dilemmas on this video game. And then
God.
I played that and I was like Star Wars is nuts. Like this was I had like I'm questioning and like if you depending on the decision you make, it will let you know if you got good or bad points. And like you're trying to like balance it out, I guess, of like, did I do a good thing or did I do a bad thing? I don't know. And I'm getting all these lectures from all these different people, and there's a big plot
It may
line.
explain a lot, Sam. This may explain quite a bit
It
about,
was it was a very pivotal game for me. And
yeah, clearly.
then I went and watched the movies. And I was like, I was 10 and I'm at a friend's house. I remember I was in their basement watching The Phantom Menace, the first one of the new ones with like
Yeah.
and I was watching them and I had just played this whole game and I was like, Qui-Gon's totally off. Like you got to deconstruct what he's saying. And I'm like trying to break it down for my friends. I was like, no, what they were saying is this, like you can't just go out the living will of the force. Like that turns out to be the end goal of the character in the video game is to destroy the force because she doesn't like that it has a will and a destiny for people. She thinks it undermines free will and choice. And so she's trying
Hmm.
to use you to destroy the force, essentially. Yeah, destroy the
Uh,
overall governing force of the universe because it undermines autonomy.
hmm.
And you can either choose
I,
to do that or not do that.
I'm almost speechless. I don't know quite where to go with this. And I wonder about the impact that it's had on you from age
Oh,
10 onward.
yeah,
I think we need to explore that a little bit more.
I wasn't allowed to play Pokemon because it was too violent. So I got
Hmm.
this game instead. I could have very easily
Fascinating.
been on Pokemon. I wanted to play Pokemon and Spider-Man, but apparently they were too violent. And
And
I was
nowhere near as philosophical
nowhere near as
and
philosophical. I
filled with
saw
existential dread.
I played that game and then I watched Avatar The Last Airbender as
Hmm.
like a show, which is a kid show for the first season, and then the second season is not a kid show at all. It's again a very deep show about propaganda. It's like about propaganda and state governments.
So this is going to bring us back to our earlier conversation. And say you inherit, you know,
$1 billion.
uh, $20 billion, or your company
Yeah.
makes gazillions of dollars, and you're now in the position where you are have all the money in the world to go chase your dreams, and they are influenced and affected by that
Yeah.
that game that you were playing as a youth.
I've thought about this, and I think
I
if
mean,
the first thing I would do is I think a lot of times when people get rich, they move to where other rich people are,
yeah,
and you don't see the trickle down in the community. Like the rich people don't need my like if I have $20 billion and I move to Nantucket, is it going to help the people of Nantucket a lot? No, like there's already rich people there who have billions of dollars. It would be more helpful if I invested that money into like the local like Orrington, you know,
yeah.
of sort of give people the ability to make better decisions, I guess, is the thing of and
Based on that kind of game that you played
I think that's
about
the
sort of the
ultimate
moral and
lesson.
ethical
That's the
decisions.
ultimate lesson of the game, and it informs how I coach like ice hockey players. Of I'm here to teach you how to be self-sufficient without me. If I do my job right, you shouldn't need me as your goalie coach by the end of this. I'm going to teach you all the skills to do your own analysis. And like, I'm going to make it very hard for you. But when you overcome that hard thing, you're going to know that you overcame that hard thing. And so in 4 years, you're going to have overcome so many hard things that you're never going to question yourself because you have a resume of proof that you are who you say you are. And you have
Mm,
inconsequentible evidence that you are good at playing hockey. And I think that's the message that the game was trying to uh, convey was that you can't not help people. You have to help people, but if you do everything for them, you're not helping them.
right.
So you have to know where that line is of, I'm here to save the day, but I'm not here to baby you. And I think that's what the money would be for of, I'm here to help you with the money, but I'm not here to just hand you $1 billion and say, go off and do stuff. Like you're still going to have to do things, but I'm going to give you the opportunity of, I increase teacher's salary by 50K or something locally and like invest the money in nicer facilities. So you have
Yeah.
all of the resources, but I can't make you do your homework. You got to do that yourself. But I'll give you
So,
the
but at
resources.
least you're investing local with actual people.
Yeah, I would invest in like the local schools and like if I had $20 billion, I would legitimately say if I put $1 billion into all of the public schools and the private schools in Penobscot County, all of
Yeah.
them, right? And I just bumped up every teacher's salary by $50,000 a year,
Yeah.
then what would that look like in 10 years? If I did that for all K through eight, K through senior year of high school for a
Yeah.
group. Like, would that make a difference? Is that all you need to do? That sort of thing of what if I, gave money so like kids could start in high school could do like investing, right? And I said like
Yeah.
I'll create an account where every high schooler gets $100 and you'll do financial literacy classes with it or $1,000 maybe and do financial literacy class and like you have the opportunity to turn that $1,000 into something before you graduate and go off to college or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I would be generally interested to see what that would do of like all of these social programs we talk about. Like you can almost subvert the government at 20 billion and just do them and just see if they work.
Right.
So that would probably be what I would do and just try to get down to like
Or you take celebrities up 3 miles into the sky in some rocket and let them come
just
back down to Earth.
let them like bring it down to lion and then bring it
I
down.
don't know.
Yeah, I think it's okay to have like one or two of these companies, but they don't all need to be doing that. And like yeah, like at least like it's yeah. I think between SpaceX and NASA, we'd probably be fine. Everybody else, like, the thing is, like, Blue Origin's nowhere near either of them. You're just doing commercial travel. Like, what is the benefit here? Like, at least Elon's trying to invent stuff. Like, he's trying to, like, it's a lot of it doesn't work and it never comes when he says it's going to come. But, like, Bezos isn't even trying to invent anything. He's just trying to make, like, commercial travel,
Yeah.
pointless commercial travel.
Hmm.
I would rather go on one of those next submarine explorers to the Titanic than I would
Oh
go
boy,
up into space.
I'm going to differ with you on that one. But
Maybe not. That might be a bad idea. They have a history of exploding.
well, I like your investing local
Yeah,
pledge.
that
I
would
look forward
definitely
to
be
seeing that
the thing to
when
do.
you sell your company.
I was thinking about this. I would sell it pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah.
Like there's a handful of people now that have helped in some way, and they're all like either old friends or family or coworkers or whatever that I've had that obviously like have something to contribute. But like, I've told everybody this of like if a money comes and it's
Yep.
enough where I can give everybody something that it's like life changing, I'm gonna take it and I don't care about after that. Like
Right.
I'm gonna take that money. I'm not gonna like hold out for more and risk losing that when I have the opportunity to like get everybody a substantial amount of cash. Yeah. But I think
Well,
like if I saw it out to the end and like pursued it like a Musk, I think in 20 years could easily be I have like a 30% stake for hundreds of billions of dollars easily. Whichever company does this, I think it's a 2.5 to $3 trillion company if they see it through all the way to the end of what the logical
wow.
conclusion is.
Um, the, I'm reminded when you're talking about money, there's a famous quote: "Money talks, but it don't sing or dance, and it don't walk."
Bob Dylan.
No,
No?
I don't. Not the version that I'm aware of.
Who is I'm not who was the quote?
Neil Diamond.
Oh, Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Neil Diamond?
Not personally, no.
But professionally?
I would like to meet him professionally or
Is he still
personally.
alive?
As far as I know, he is. Yeah.
I need to ask him about Sweet Caroline because I've heard some rumors about that song.
Right. I know.
I need to know what's going on with that. Was it written about that girl? The little did you write it about a 10-year-old president's daughter?
Caroline Kennedy, right?
She was
That's
like 10.
some rumor is that.
Yeah, which
I
is
think
a
he even confirmed that at some point.
I thought he did, but I'm like kind of a wild song. But I feel like a lot of music too, people kind of miss the point. They just like a catchy song.
Yeah.
There was a song when I was in middle school called Pumped Up Kicks by the Foster people
Uh-huh.
that was super popular. And the song is about a school shooting,
Hmm.
but nobody really knew.
Yeah.
It was just like a catchy song. And then you get like, just like random techno songs now and like I don't know. Do you have a lot of interaction with like the young kids in the mute that come into the museum and they do like brain rot and stuff?
I don't have a lot.
Like
In
the
fact, I have
skibbity
zero.
skibbity doo, skibbity
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
It's I don't know, it's I was we get like a camp every summer and we get these young kids and they have like this they call it brain rot, like brain rot
Yeah.
words. So it's like skibbity and delulu and the one I've been trying to figure out recently is labubu. I don't know what labubu is.
Oh yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out what it is. I don't know.
My approach to it has been very I don't know how I'd classify it. I don't think it's Zen is the right word, but basically I hear these words and I let them come in
Okay.
and then leave my body almost instantaneously. And in the process, I feel like I completely understand what they're saying, and yet I have no clue what they're saying. And I think that's the
That's
right way to go about
that's
it.
years of wisdom of just not getting caught up in nonsense.
Yeah,
That's what I need to learn because I let the nonsense bother me.
yeah,
It really gets to me. Oh man.
yeah.
Well, that was almost 2 hours.
Really
Yeah. See, time flies. Just like
flew
that.
right by. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
huh?
it's not that hard. I mean, have you gone on? So you guys started a podcast for
That's
Nantucket
true.
Historical
We have,
Society.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's it called again?
Nantucket Gam.
Okay.
Gam was a word used to describe when two whale ships would come together and meet and exchange goods and information and have conversation. And since the Gam has really come to just describe like an informal conversation.
Yeah, I would say like
So
Gam Gam or like yeah, just like the Gam.
yeah,
Huh, interesting. And that comes from the whaling.
it does.
Wow.
Yep. When two
Okay.
ships would sidle up next to each other and
All right. I'll link
swap
this in
stories.
the description of the video. So when you guys set that up, how did that come about and what has it been so far?
So we've been talking for a while about having a podcast. Figured it was a good format to tell different stories,
Hmm.
and so we're sort of looking into it and listening to a bunch of different ones and seeing what we liked, and then fortunately we've got three staff members who really were excited about the opportunity to do it, and they've just run with it, doing a lot of the research and the writing and
Hmm.
the interviewing, and they'll pick a different topic and based in history, and we'll research that topic, and then collectively we'll tell the story, and then it ends with an interview with somebody from present day who can share something about the topic. So
Oh,
we've released four so far.
okay.
The first one we did was about the Great Fire of Nantucket, which happened in
Yeah.
1846 and devastated downtown Nantucket.
Yeah.
And so they told the story behind it, and then they interviewed Nate Barber, who's a current firefighter on Nantucket, and who was
Oh.
responsible for um, being a first responder to a hotel fire that happened a couple of summers ago that had the potential to be catastrophic and a real tragedy.
Oh wow.
But he helped rescue a number of people from the burning building. And so he told the story of that day and what happened and
Oh my
sort of
gosh.
what was involved. And so that's sort of the general approach to the podcast. And our most recent one was on Mariah Mitchell, who was a Nantucketer, a young girl who discovered a comet from atop the bank, which is right down the street here. And sort of the story of her father and Mariah, and applying to get a prize for her discovery and how she grew up. And she went on to become the first female astronomer and
Oh my
a
gosh.
professor at Vassar College, and really a remarkable woman. And
That's
then
sick.
the staff interviewed a woman who is curator at the Mariah Mitchell Institute here on the island and
That's so
knows the whole
cool.
story. And yeah, so that's the idea. We have a bunch more planned.
Will any of them
Some,
ever interact
some,
with like the exhibits that you guys put on?
yeah, yep, for sure. With some of our different programs, the exhibits, the properties that we have. We're going to be doing one about the old mill that we own and operate here on the island. That's about to undergo, or is undergoing already, a major restoration project. So,
Hmm.
um, I mean, there's any number of topics. I mean, endless number
Yeah.
of topics that we could be doing. So,
It's such an interesting island. It's such an interest, like from where it started to where it is now. And, the different, I guess, how people, when they think of Nantucket, like, I think I talked to you about this of like the Nantucket, Hyannisport, Newport, like these areas that have been concentrations of, a lot of wealth, but also a lot of industry. And just sort of
yeah,
been like these central focal points of the country for so
yeah,
long.
fascinating,
It's
fascinating
fascinating.
story. Nantucket, in some way, I mean, it just defies logic in some ways. It's 14 miles wide by maybe 3 or 4 miles, or 14 miles long, but 3 or 4 miles wide.
Yeah,
It's a sandbar in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
yeah.
Radiate. Yeah, it's a cool place. You got to come out.
We're gonna come soon. We're
Good.
gonna come soon. We're working on it.
I'm
We're
counting on it.
I told my sister I'm not gonna go without her. She would be very upset. So we're working around her medical school schedule. But once we're gonna come out. I'd like to come like when there's people there, but also like if there's not, then probably better just to be able to walk around and
Yeah,
see
see more of the island.
everything. But I definitely want to be there when like it's not as busy for you. So like we can go around and you can like actually tell me what stuff is.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that's
we're
what
getting to
I'm
that time of year.
yeah.
Fall's a great time out here.
Oh,
Be
yeah,
perfect.
we'll definitely make it happen here.
Good.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
A pleasure.
We'll
Thank
do this
you. A lot of
again.
fun.
All right. Bye,
Always
everybody.
good to chat.